Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and strategy videos on my channel, including a complete A to Z list of the core monster manual. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing as I upload at least twice a week. A return to our quest to detail every demon ever created for the Dungeons & Dragons franchise throughout its history. Today, one of the more recognizable ones, the Hezrou, or Type 2 Demon, is both one of the first of them created for the game, appearing way back in the Eldritch Wizardry supplement published in 1976, and also appearing as the Croaking Demon in the basic D&D edition, and getting included in the Immortal Rules set in the DM's Guide in 1986. It's pretty much the same as the Hezrou that appeared in the Monster Manual for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons in 1977, and aside from the shift and change of all demons in the lore as they became classified as Tanari in 2nd edition, and then back to being both demons and a subclass called Tanari in the 3rd edition onwards, the Hezrou has remained remarkably unchanged in all that time. They are, and probably always will be large, loathsome, brutal and disgusting toad demons who form the primary goon squad of most large demon hordes. But there is more to these creatures than meets the eye. First, one excellent source of lore, not just because of its detail, but also because it talks about the veracity of lore on demons in general, is the book Hordes of the Abyss, the second of the Fiendish Codex books for 3.5 edition. It's packed full of information. I'll quote a bit here about demon life cycles directly from page 8 and 9 with my own interjections. Many religions believe that when evil people die, the gods punish them by consigning them to the abyss or the 9 hells, or some other horrible plane populated by demons, devils, and other evil creatures. So here we see already that there are bits of in-game lore that may vary wildly between different faiths, cultures, and the various racial groups on the many worlds of D&D. So it's highly subjective and probably includes a whole lot which has never been verified. So just keep in mind, I talk a lot about demon lore, but I'm just quoting sources that even within the game setting are wide open to contradiction. There, these evil souls undergo everlasting torment at the behest of dark powers. Some believers even claim that occasional souls rise to the ranks of demons or devils themselves, becoming slavish servants to evil. Different tomes of knowledge disagree on the finer points of these claims. The Black Scrolls of Arm put forth the position that individual souls seldom, if ever, become demons incarnate, while the Demonomicon of Igwilv actually lists certain particularly evil individuals from history and outlines what sort of demons they became after death. For example, it's believed that Orcus is one such being who rose up from lowly ranks and was once a mortal man. However, the Black Scrolls do allow for demonic pacts and bargains. Arm asserts that a particularly evil and powerful individual can make a bargain with Demogorgon or Orcus, promising to serve that prince faithfully in life in exchange for guaranteed rebirth as a powerful demon after death. He does clarify that these demonic reincarnations appear as the exception rather than the rule. Still, no proof of these arguments exists one way or the other, and most demons enjoy inflicting doubt upon those who pursue this knowledge too closely. Whatever the case, the demonic life cycle is as unpredictable as the abyss. So, we don't really know if this happens very often at all, and I'm inclined to think that it doesn't. Not when I really ponder the tremendous psychological trauma such a transition would really entail. I just can't imagine how any mortal could undergo that and come out the other end anything like the person they once were. No. I think the rebirth of the soul as a demon would be more or less a completely blank slate, or rather, the release of a soul who has torn their way, screaming and completely stripped of all humanity, out of a nightmare the likes of which nothing could come through with even a shred of sanity remaining. I don't think there would be any difference at all between demons in that regard, no matter what their origin was. There is a quote from the mythical Demonomicon in here. It goes, "And all this writhes below you and around you, and your horror makes you part of it, your putrid flesh corrupted, your ragged soul rent, your desires bathed in evil and black blood. No, demon spawn, you are not forgotten. The terror of existence beyond death is yours. Now writhe and rise forth." For me, I think of rock concerts and riots. Bear with me. You have a relatively quiet and cold border, the outskirts of the crowd. Here we find those who are heading towards the action, excited and energized, or limping away from it, exhausted or injured. There are also predators here, lurking in the darkness, preying on the weak. As we head towards the front lines, there's a press of the crowd. So soon we found some of them will found a spot that they like and they want to stay there, and they make knots. There are channels where the crowd flows around them, heading back and forth. Then the energy starts to sharply ramp up. The noise and chaos of the concert or riot is right by the front lines. The crowd is almost a living thing. Individuals are pressed together, pushed and jostled this way and that. There are big dudes shoving their way through. Some follow along in their wake. And then you hit the front lines. This is where the riot's hardcore are slamming against police lines, overturning cars, smashing windows, hurling rocks and setting fires. The tear gas and noise is overwhelming. This is also the Mosh Pit, a wild and dangerous zone of violence with few rules. And there, up on stage, pounding out a wall of roaring sound and energy, the rock stars, the one that everyone came to see. These are the demons that lurk. There are the demons that lurk in the shadows. There are demons that mill around in knots. There are demons who shove through the crowd and those who sneak along after them. There are those who live in the mosh pit and those who clamber up on stage, grabbed and hurled back into the masses. And there are the demon lords, the main event, who draw forth this massive congregation with their power and energy. This, to me, is the key to understanding how the Abyss works. Away from the demon lords, it's really just the parking lot and the wastelands, populated by the twisted remains of whatever these places were before they fell to utter ruination. Monsters, nightmares, traps and hazards, harsh terrain and despoiled resources. But in all this squalor and danger, there are those who thrive and carve out their own petty kingdoms in the filth. These are the slumlords of the Abyss, the chop shop mechanics, the sellers of black market meat, the junkyard bosses. Perfectly at home in the mosh pit or nestled in their own slimy haunts, kings of their sloppy dens of depravity. Here is where we find the Hezrou. Most demons never leave the Abyss. They are trapped there for all eternity. A lot of the time, they're not even looking for a way to get out to the prime material plane or outer planes of evil. The Hezrou has taken a huge hit to its intelligence in 5th edition, but I don't think this is intelligence of 5 as being stupider than your average pet dog. They just have a pretty tried and true method of doing things, and in their thousands of years of experience, trying anything fancy and clever is just going to turn around and bite them in the ass anyway, so they just don't. If at first you don't succeed, hit it again, and maybe bite it as well. If it went under something, pick up something big and hit the thing until it comes out, or never comes out again. If they have what they want, if you have what they want, hit them and they'll hit you and take it. If you're too big, they'll wait for something bigger to hurt you and weaken you, then they'll take what they want. They do speak. There is little point to beating a weakling to the point of death unless you can tell them what to give you the information towards getting what you want, even if the Hezrou is often compelled to brutalize creatures that talk too much. Some Hezrou will have smaller demons who orbit them, sneaking in to pick scraps from whatever the Hezrou leaves in its wake. Some of them placate the Hezrou with their meagre offerings. Like the head of a gang of ragged street kids, the Hezrou is a bully and a brute, but there's also some safety in that. Of course, not in the mosh pit. When the Hezrou gets drawn into the heat of excitement and the violence of battle, all bets are off, and they will kill and devour any lesser demons that get in their way, feeding and growing in strength until they are in the heart of battle and completely berserk with chaos lust and the orgy of destruction. Demon lords find no shortage of Hezrou to serve them, but the application of the wild and dull-witted Hezrou is more like a hammer than a nail. They serve as foot soldiers, slamming into the front lines of the enemy, eager to take out as many as they can before they fall and the mob tramples over them. They are foul creatures who constantly exude a thick and revolting stench that is weapons grade to within 10 feet of their body. Any creature, except presumably other demons, who start their turn within the stench aura must succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or be poisoned until the start of its next turn. On a successful saving throw, the creature is immune to the Hezrou's stench for 24 hours. The Hezrou are big, standing at least 8 feet tall or 2.4 meters tall and weighing no less than 750 pounds or 340 kilograms, though the Hezrou in service to Demogorgon, for example, are all twice that size, so there's a lot of variability. However, they all bear a superficial resemblance to a monstrous toad in humanoid form, with arms and hands instead of forelegs and rear legs able to keep them upright when they fight, though they often drop down and knuckle walk with their powerful forearms as well. Within their wide maws are multiple rows of robust and pointy but actually fairly blunt teeth with which they deliver a powerful bite and crushing attack. The back of the head, shoulders and upper arms are covered in thick spines that add a small measure of defense, but are really better suited to ripping into other beings within the dense and chaotic press of battle, as the Hezrou thrashes around, leaping and spinning, shredding with spines, tearing with claws, and chomping into smaller creatures with its wide and more emitting deafening croaks. When outside of combat, they don't actually smell as bad, so it seems that the action of combat causes them to sweat out this noxious slime, which creates the cloud of stench. And of course, in earlier editions, particularly if you look at the artwork from 3.5 edition, there's some metallic elements to them, almost cyborg implants in their bodies as well. So they're that sort of demonic chaos and weirdness. In the latest edition, they have an armor class of 16. They can be outfitted with armor by demon lords who actually bother to augment them, and the Hezrou will certainly take advantage of that, but left to their own devices they don't bother, because they're normally big enough and mean enough to handle smaller demons around them. They also make use of their ability to hide in pools of virulently poisonous filth, as they are totally immune to all poison. They are resistant to cold, fire, lightning and non-magical physical attacks, and have 13d10 plus 65 or between 78 and 195 with an average of 136 hit points. They also have advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects. In previous editions, Hezrou do have the ability to gate in other demons while on the prime material plane. You could represent this as the ability, if left unchecked, of creating enough filth and destruction in one place to either have gathered enough energy to vomit up another demon from inside themselves, acting as a disgusting living portal, or creating a filth pit that can spawn another demon crawling through from the abyss after them. In a more high-power campaign where the players get to frequently refresh their characters' resources, you can loosen up the restrictions and allow Hezrou to gate in other demons. This is the official variant rule for demons. You can do it once per day, and a Hezrou has a 30% chance of summoning 2d6 Gretches or 1 Hezrou. A summoned demon appears in an unoccupied space within 60 feet of its summoner, acts as an ally to its summoner, and can't summon other demons. It remains for 1 minute or until its summoner dies or until its summoner dismisses it as an action, though there's little chance of a Hezrou is going to actually dismiss them. If you want to get really hardcore, such as when a full-on demonic rift or incursion is happening, remove the 1 minute duration and restriction on summoned demons being able to gate in other demons as well. Though this is going to get really, truly crazy, and it will probably result in a long, drawn-out and exhausting combat for everyone at the table. But you should do this at least once in your gaming career. It really drives home how dangerous these creatures are. Hezrous and Chasme, both Type 2 demons, work really well together in combat, and it makes a lot of sense. Demon lords, demon toads, lords of the shit pile, and demon flies crawling and buzzing around on it. A logical match. Chasmes can fly around just above the scrum of combat, with their droning buzz inflicting supernatural lethargy and weakness on the enemies, while the Hezrou's cloud of stinking stench is further wafted around by all those flittering insect wings. Chasme also delight in whipping the Hezrou into battle frenzy and are quick to set upon any demons who seek to flee from the front lines, as demons are likely to do, even if the outcome is still uncertain. They're just chaotic creatures who rip and roar and tear and vomit forth gouts of rotten, foul ichor. They love to inflict pain just as much as they love to kill and destroy things, so it's in their nature, this instinct to hit and fade. They pounce on their prey again and again. In battles, though, the Chasme are among the many demons who keep the fight sustained and concentrated where the demon lords want them to be. If they fail, they get snatched out of the air and have their arms and legs ripped off and get tossed into the shrieking and hungry mass of lesser demon scum, the maggots, manes and dretches, rudderkin and nameless mutant monsters that make up the countless other forms of demon nobody has yet managed to catalogue formally. Going toe-to-toe with a hulking Hezrou, they make 3 attacks, 1 with their bite and 2 with their claws. +7 to hit, both with a reach of 5 feet. The bite does 2d10 plus 4 piercing damage, and the claws do 2d6 plus 4 slashing damage. They have a strength of 19, dexterity of 17, and constitution of 20, so they are very agile, strong and tireless fighters. However, They lack a lot of protection and don't have the innate ability to regenerate damage, so they can be cut down if they don't manage to group together and overcome with sheer numbers and the ferocity of their many incoming attacks. They have 120-foot dark vision, a wisdom of 12, passive perception of 11, and telepathy out to 120 feet, and they speak the abyssal language. If there is such a thing as an expert in the application of field technology or field demonology and tactics, they might be able to tell you that what demon lord the Hezrou serves just by seeing how they behave and what distinctive appearance differences they have. One of the most striking Hezrou is the one known as Darkness Given Hunger. It's a huge hybrid between a Hezrou and a black pudding, serving as the primary servant of the faceless lord Dublex. In the chaotic shambles that passes for a hierarchy in the Abyss, the Hezrou Zaxxas was actually a fallen Marilith named Beth Siva, whose child was the Baelor Balbazan, with a rank even higher than hers, so it's completely chaotic. Demon Lords make great use of Hezrous in the Blood War and their own eternal skirmishes amongst each other's ever-shifting territorial control. Hezrous delight in whipping lesser demons along, following the orders of their Nalfeshni bullies, who in turn answer to Baelors, and so on and so on. Whether a demon or an outsider is getting promoted or fighting their way up, or getting busted back down at the kicking order of demons, the Hezrou will be sure to get their kicks in going both ways. And if the first kick is not so effective, they'll kick you again. About the most complicated thing about the Hezrou is their ancient tradition of theirs called the Dark Walk, where they seek out and cross over through a summoning or a portal to the mortal realm, willingly form a pact with a desperate soul and serve them, usually in the destruction of something or hunting down and retrieving a powerful artifact for the mortal. Then, with the job done, they drag the soul back to the Abyss, transform it into a mane, and that mane becomes one of their wretched underlings and objects of sporadic and merciless torture for all eternity. While on the mortal material plane, they often attract the idolation of brutish races such as trolls, hill giants and ogres, with rare cults of evil-touched bullywugs or corrupted grung. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and all the full scripts for these videos, buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.